Hi, my name is Jamie and I have a sibling with epilepsy. My younger brother Logan was diagnosed with epilepsy when he was 8 and I was 11, so he's now 25 and I am now 28. Epilepsy is not only exclusive to the person living with it, but also to the people around them, their family, friends, coworkers, etc. I'm here to share my personal experiences as an older sister to someone with epilepsy. Now, I can't speak on anybody else's experiences, so I'm just going to share my stories. Of course, there's probably going to be a lot of details left out just because it's been almost a lifetime experience of this. So of course, there's going to be a lot of things that I'm going to forget. But as well, there are just some things that I want to keep private to my brother and our family and things that have happened. I'm going to share stories that have stood out to me over the years and just give you some insight on what it's like to have a sibling with epilepsy. So first, let's start with his diagnosis, or when we were kids. His epilepsy first presented itself as ignorance, so he would ignore us, he would look away, he would roll his eyes, he would just completely tune out. This would happen literally face to face. I remember talking to him, like we'd be in a conversation, and he would just, and I'd be like, I would get so mad. I would look at him, I would start yelling. I was a kid, I didn't know what was happening, so I would just get really upset with him. Like, why are you ignoring me? Why are you looking away? You're not listening to me, things like that. So that's really how it first started. And then I remember once my mom drove Jordan and I to our riding lesson at the barn. And that's when I think he had like a more of a full seizure. I think he was shaking. So my mom rushed him to the hospital. Then, of course, later we found out he was diagnosed with epilepsy, and we were like, okay, that kind of makes sense. His seizures started just presenting themselves more and more over time, and they got more serious. He started having tonic-clonic seizures, which are where you lose full consciousness, you fall over, you foam at the mouth, you shake uncontrollably. Growing up, that was always very hard to see and hard to watch. There comes a time where you kind of get used to it. So I'll start with, at the beginning, what would happen is like if he would have a seizure, it would really scare us and scare me. So it was a lot of calling the ambulance, calling 911, taking him to the hospital, and him like staying overnight and stuff like that. Then eventually, as we got older and we kind of got more accustomed to living like this, we just started driving him to the hospital. So at that point we realized, okay, there's no need for us to call the ambulance anymore. Like, we know what's going on, we can take care of this. So we would take him. We were able to manage him, and he was able to manage himself, of course, with medication, and we would take care of him at home. So we wouldn't even go to the hospital. He would have a seizure, we'd let it happen. I don't want to say it would happen, and then we would take care of him after, once he woke up from it. But especially my mom, she is and was his primary caregiver throughout his whole life. So props to my mom, but I can't speak on any of her experiences, but I know for a lot of the times I was there by her side, as well as my sister. But again, speaking from my experience, I was there by her side, helping clean up, things like that. It got more difficult as we got older because he started growing, right? He was the baby of the family, so he was very small. And then once he started growing into like a full adult, that's when it became a lot harder for us to take care of him, because like picking him up was almost impossible. When someone's having a seizure, they become dead weight, and he was bigger than all of us at this point. There was a time where I went away to university. I wasn't really around as much. Most of the time you're in this state of like worriness or anxiety, or you're always thinking about him, or thinking like, is he okay? Something gonna happen? Because you just never know, right? What life looked like for me would just kind of be like getting a text out of the blue once in a while from my mom just saying like Logan had a seizure. Maybe she had sent us pictures. And after university was even harder when I moved to LA. It was just so far away. That is just something you have to do, right? Like, I had to go off and live my life. At least I'm always thinking about him, wondering, if he's okay. Has he had a seizure? 2018, one of the worst things that could have happened. And I got a call or text from my mom telling me that he was in a coma. He had, I think, over 10 seizures back to back. He was put on life support, 2 life support machines. And this was when I flew back from LA, because when you hear that, you just don't know, right? Like, you just don't know if they're going to wake up. How would you know? I think my older brother called me to reassure me that, like, of course he's going to make it through. He's young, he's strong, but you just really don't know. That was just a crazy, crazy time for all of us and my family. So that is the reality of what can happen. And he was on life support for 6 days and he had kidney failure because of these seizures. Pretty tough. I had this huge freak out, like hysterical freak out, because I thought like he was never going to wake up, or like what if he never woke up, or then it was the other fact of him having kidney failure, and like if he did wake up he would have to be on like dialysis for the rest of his life, which is being hooked up to a kidney machine that pumps your blood for you. I was hysterical. I had never felt this way. I literally could not breathe. Like, it was terrifying moment. You want to be there and you want to watch over him and take care of him and manage his life, but there comes a point when he's also an adult and he's the only one that can really take care of himself, so he has to manage it. You have to trust that he's going to do that, right? And we trust his doctors, his medication, things like that. So it's just trust. And I've seen him go through so many incidences and that have not yet killed him. Yes, he has been very close to death many times, but he has not yet left this earth. So I'm just like, there's a reason that you're here and you're staying. So I have full trust in God, the universe, and he's watching over him. So now I'm just kind of like, okay, we're good. Nothing really truly that I can do other than support him from where I am. So that is what I do, check up on him. Now here he is living on his own, which was a very scary thought for us. But it's like, yeah, at one point he does have to live on his own. He had a seizure in the middle of the night. He fell off his bed and he hit his head severely. So cracked his head open, woke up basically in a pool of blood. All I get from my mom immediately are just like these pictures. No warning. Well, maybe she did send like a little warning, but it's not much of a warning, right? And then she just follows up with these super graphic images of his head and his face and blood everywhere. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And it's just like, it can happen just like any day. And I remember that day I was going to see Disney on Ice. So I was like so excited for that. I mean, I still was, but then you get hit with those images and your whole day just like, whoop, changes, and you're just like, you just don't really have words for it. It's tough. It's really tough, like being a witness and almost feeling like you're just sitting by watching and all these things are just happening and you have no control over it, because I don't have any control over it. But the one thing that I do have control over is raising awareness and speaking out about my experiences. So that's what I'm here to do. Even just a few weeks ago, this is recent, I went to go pick him up and I said, I'm coming at 4:30. I'm on my way, whatever. I text him on my way, don't hear from him. Okay, maybe he's getting ready. Finally, when I get there, I'm like, I'm here. No answer. And I'm like, ugh, come on. I'm not kidding. I think I waited maybe 20 minutes and I was just texting, calling, no answer. And your brain really only goes 2 or 3 ways. Either he's sleeping, he had a seizure, or he's having a seizure, or he's dead. To be blunt, those are just where the mind goes, right? And you can't help it. So that's just what it's like living all the time with a sibling with epilepsy. You just don't know what's happening. And your mind obviously is just going to go there when you don't hear an answer from him. Then I get a text and he's like, sorry, I was doing laundry. And I'm like, okay, he really is just like being my little brother now, being annoying, doing laundry when I told him, I'm coming to pick you up, bro. But that is what it's like as an older sister living with someone who has epilepsy. Of course, there is a lot more, but those are just a few of my experiences with it. And I hope to continue to spread awareness about epilepsy and break the stigma surrounding it, because my brother is a fully functioning adult, yeah, and he manages with epilepsy. He has a full-time job. He works as a tattoo artist, which is like a crazy job to have, but he manages very well. He lives on his own. Props to him, and props to him, obviously, for living like this, living through this, going through this, and having this experience and being an epilepsy warrior. So I hope that you share this video and help to raise awareness. And thank you so much for tuning in to all my stories and TikTok videos that I've made over this month, raising awareness for epilepsy. Thank you.